Celebrating service in Nye County for 10 years, Desert View Hospital.
Well, I was going to present an item for the agenda. Actually present it to the commissioners. What I didn't realize is that they weren't allowing me to present. I was only allowed 3 minutes, so I didn't really get to talk about some of the research we have done on this subject, which is having shelter for horses in our county. I know this is a sensitive subject. I know it's been brought up in the past, and I respect that very much. I want to make it clear that I'm definitely not speaking of livestock that are in large pastures or roaming free in large ranges or anything like that. I'm really speaking of the domestic animal that are in corrals and smaller, that have smaller confinement. With a little bit of research, we have some information from UC Davis, which says the legal requirements: horses must be provided with necessary shelter for protection from weather, and that's in the California Penal Code. Just showing that there are laws in other places that may have similar weather to us for these animals. And then Purdue University of Animal Sciences says that shelter in one form of a structure should be available for horses in cases of prolonged extreme weather conditions, which obviously in Nevada, in this area, our heat is a prolonged extreme condition compared to other areas. So I did get an email from Dr. Hensler, who was an equine vet here in the Valley. He is retired now, but he spent many, many years here in the Valley. So he has a vast amount of experience. He believes that horses and all the other livestock should have shelter. Dr. Hadlin, who we heard from, was against making it law, but morally felt it was the right thing to do.
The fact is that they thermoregulate very well, so they actually do not need shade as long as they're otherwise healthy and have adequate water. It's a good idea to have it accessible to them morally.
I am a horse person, and so I spent 20 years raising and showing horses, and I was an international championship horse rider, and I keep seeing horses in the valley that are in small pens, and they are stuck in the heat and in the winter. Their coats are getting completely saturated. The wind blows, they're shivering, they're thin. And they could be thin because they're not eating enough, or they could be thin because of weather conditions. I don't know, but they're suffering, and I can tell that they're suffering. When out in a pasture, if there's a group of horses, often they'll go nose to nose. They'll help shade each other, or they'll even take turns laying in each other's shade. If it's real windy, they'll put their rear end to the wind, but they'll huddle. So they have ways of protecting themselves if they can't find shelter. One of the arguments was you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And they were saying that in comparison to shelter. Well, we can build a shelter, but the horses stand out in the sun because of flies. Well, if you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, then why are we forced to make sure they have water? Because they need it. So a horse should have, a choice to get out of the elements.